Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Cierra, and this video is going to be about On Sunday She Picked Flowers. So this book follows Judith, who at the very beginning has a very tumultuous relationship with her mother that leads to an incident. Following this incident, she flees her home and she finds solace in a home that's in the woods that no one claims. The people told her that it was haunted, but she's like, you know what, I can deal with that. And so we follow her journey of living in this house, encountering some very interesting spirits, very interesting creatures, and also we deal with a lot of generational and familial issues and dynamics along the way, leading up to the very end of the story, pretty much. So I want to talk about this book, and I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. I want you guys to read it. But I do want to discuss like certain aspects of it. Just to like let y'all know. Because this book is a Southern Gothic book. This isn't like a feel-good type of thing where it's like, oh, she ran away from home. She lives in the woods, but she's learning how to be independent. She meets some new friends. Like, this isn't like a coming of age type of story. First of all, Judith is 40 years old. First of all, she is 40 years old. She is not a child. She's not like a teenager or a young adult. She is full grown when it comes to this entire situation. So there's that. But I do want to talk about the creature that is Namira. The family dynamic that Judith has with her mom and her aunts, and just really cover general topics of what this story entails without giving too much away. So I'm trying not to do too much in depth. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it like this for other stories. Because a lot of the other books that I read for February, I want to do more in depth. So I'm gonna need y'all to have read these books if you're gonna watch these videos. This one, I'm gonna try to tread lightly because it is also very heavy too. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So I actually did read my summary from my trusty book review notebook. I read this in my February wrap-up video, so I'm not gonna read that anymore. But what I am going to do is just go over like main themes that I saw in the book and things that I wanted to point out. I've done this before over on my other channel. Like I said, I'm gonna figure out a way to get them over here. But let's start off with which theme I would say is like very major. I mean, there's a lot of themes in this book. I would say guilt is one of them, and it's guilt from every single human involved. So Judith, her mom, her aunts, they all have an aspect of guilt, more so than others. One of the aunts, she doesn't feel as much guilt, but I think she has a lot more displacement of anger towards Judith when it comes to the impact that Judith has on the family and the familial secrets that ties Judith to her mom and her aunt's upbringing, because they all lived in this house, and Judith still lives in that house at 40 years old. So this is like an ongoing environment that's full of dread, guilt, abuse, all of the bad things. It weighs heavy in this house. So it's kind of like the house is a ghost in itself. It's very monstrous due to the mom and the aunt's upbringing, and then bringing Judith into the world and what she came into and what she's a product of. It just escalates, and it keeps seeping darkness. And so I feel like everyone has a lot of guilt, and it's also coded in anger and frustration. This thing keeps turning off. I don't know what's wrong with it. There we go. Just in case if y'all didn't hear me, I do not have the time for this. And this thing is very annoying. Yeah, so I feel like, yeah, it's just really just coded in a lot of guilt in all different aspects. One of the aunts, she feels a lot more guilt, and she feels more sadness and remorse for how she treated Judith at the very beginning when Judith was younger, and always makes it a point to point out to the other aunt, like, it's not Judith's fault, yet they both have different opinions and varying processes of how to handle the situation that they grew up in and how Judith came into the world. So there's that. There's also an aspect of obviously like generational trauma, and I think that really just it's literally what's tainted Judith this entire time in the book. Even when she is in the forest, living on her own, living in this house that has ghosts in it and dealing with Namira, she's still coated in that darkness. And so being in that house that also has darkness, Namira, who's also darkness, everything just gets tied together. And so it just becomes one, and it's terrible. It's just a lot of dread, pain, and I can't even say depression because I feel like depression is not a strong enough word. It's a lot of suffering, I would say. So everything that really just ties together. I actually follow Shelby from Shelby in the Book Club over on Substack, and she did a post. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up because I did comment on it, and I do want to read my comment because I don't remember it off the top of my head. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my best to pull it up. Another theme I would point out is relationships. So I'm just going to read the comment that I have because I feel like this book is extremely heavy on all fronts when it comes to guilt, generational trauma, but also relationships. So what I wrote that I think the bear was a reminder of her lack in relationships, familial and romantic, because even in her own family, Judith had such harsh relationships. Her mother was abusive, which stemmed from her mom and aunt's own trauma and abuse when they were coming up. So it's a cycle that never got severed. In the end, it just ended up hurting Judith in all aspects to the point where she does what she does and does the same thing with Namira. Her family line is broken and shattered, leaving Judith unable to actually have any positive connections. And now she has this twisted love story with Namira that's extremely toxic. It's a monster latches onto her. The ghosts of the house connect with her because of her trauma. Therefore, she is a magnet to negative energy and entities. At least that's how I interpret it. So, because in the post, Shelby talked about how she didn't understand how the bear is connected. And I do understand like how that can be a little bit out of place. You're like, what? What's happening? I thought this was a Southern Gothic. Like, what's a bear got to do with any of this? But I think the main aspect, which is like a huge chunk of the story where it's about Judith's relationship with Namira, I feel like that ties into her lack of relationships. And the fact that she is constantly going to be in this cycle because this is what she grew up in and she doesn't have any other experience. And she's grown. This is a 40-year-old woman too. So she doesn't even have the opportunity to have different experiences. And the fact that she flees home and she goes straight to living on her own versus like living within the community, because the community that she goes to is kind of like a sundown town. They don't really interact with the Black people. So literally she just goes into town, gets what she needs, and she is back home. She don't intermingle with the people like that, because when she fled to like the motel, and the white lady who was working there was like, I don't want to give you a room. And Judith's like, well, I need a place to stay. Well, she was like, well, fine, I guess you can take the house that no one wants because it has ghosts up in it. You know, no one's going to bother you over there. So Judith didn't get a chance to develop any relationships with anybody, because you go to this town where palm-colored people are extremely racist. So she's very reclusive. That's who she is as a person, and that's what she's always been like, because she's grown up in the one house with her mother her entire life. Her aunts don't even live in the house anymore. They moved to a different location. They moved into a different house and they live together. But the family is so isolated that there is no way for Judith to actually form any actual relationships and connections. So I think that also plays into how Judith navigates life like that. How she navigates life, how she navigates relationships, how she navigates her trauma, because obviously trauma is just a cycle and it's just repetitive. It's hard to break. And even in the end, I don't think it ever really got solved. I don't think it ever will get solved. And I think that's the reality of what it's like to live in trauma. And not just like not be able to have therapy, not to be able to go to therapy or not be able to afford therapy, but if therapy is not in your language, if that's not something that you're familiar with, you repeat the cycles until someone actually is like, you know what, I'm kind of tired of this. What can I do to do better? And then someone starts to learn the language of like going to therapy or asking people for help. That's just that in general. It takes a person to have that language and be able to do that. But if no one knows that language, if no one is familiar with it, the cycle's just gonna repeat. And that's what happened with Judith, and that's what happens with her aunts. And they try to fix their situation, their relationships, their dynamics by the end of the book. But it's still so tainted that I don't think they'll ever be able to truly fix it. I think they were just able to come to terms with the reality of the situation and the reality of their past, and just really just come to not even accept it, but acknowledge it at least. Because at first it seems like they don't even want to acknowledge it, or at least like they have a lot of displacement and anger and frustrations towards Judith over something that is completely out of Judith's control. So I feel like they were just able to acknowledge that, yes, this happened. This is how you came into the world. This is how we were raised. It wasn't good, but we also don't know how to be better. But at least what we can do is acknowledge it and do better each day when it comes to just like going to the grocery store together, getting food, talking to each other. That's it. That's all they can do. That's really just how I interpret the story, and all the different themes that come up for me. If you like this video, be sure to like it, comment below. What do you think about the book? If you read it, if you're interested in reading it, please read it. I did my best to avoid any spoilers for you because I need you to hurry up and read this book. It's not that long. I think it was like 230 pages, something like that. I think so, something like that. It's not a super long book whatsoever. So you can definitely read it within like a day. I'm trying to find the page in here so I can tell you how many pages. Yeah, 232 pages. See, I was good. See, I'm good. So yeah, it doesn't take long. Go ahead and read it, buy it, or if you want to get it through your Kindle. I got it through my Kindle through Libby because I just got a job back, and so I'm trying to save my money, but I will be buying books that I really, really like once I'm rich. All right, that's all I have for this video. See you guys. Bye.